Okay, so that's going to bring us over to the least controversial character ever, Kimberly. Now, there's some stuff we should say here before we jump in. There was some tech that surfaced where Kimberly puts you in the corner and then has you burned out, drive rushes you, and it hits you, but it doesn't, what is it exactly? It doesn't cause the stun to happen, so you remain in burnout even though you just got drive rushed in the corner in burnout? Was that what it was?
It's a drive impact setup for to get stun, and after she does the stun and does the follow-up combo, she can reset you in the air and then do a meaty drive impact. So when you land, the burnout doesn't have enough time to reset, but you get hit by the drive impact again. And there's no escape, so you get stunned again. And it's an infinite kind of unblockable loop. And
there are answers to it. If you have super, then you can get out. And that doesn't justify that. This is something that needs to be patched out of the game. Mm-hmm. But they've figured out that, I think it has to do with if you keep the control stick at neutral, then your drive gauge does come back. But if you're holding back because your drive gauge recovers slightly slower when you're holding back or when you're jumping, that you don't get it back, and then therefore that's why this causes to happen. So if you leave the stick neutral, then you will get the drive gauge back, and then you can do something like DI. But again, this is not something that's intended. It shouldn't be in there. It needs to be fixed, and people were abusing this throughout the beta. So that is an issue. But where did you end up putting Kimberly, John?
I've got her at first. This is a completely unfair character. She is almost 25% of the top 200 of the people who are using her. It is, I don't understand how a character with an unblockable isn't number one for everyone. Because it's like, okay, I'm going to cheat. And yet that's not the number one character. It's like, this character cheats, like literally cheats. And I would compare her most to Ibuki in Street Fighter V, where she likes to play a one-player game. It's hard to get her offense started in some instances, especially in some of the zoning, as you guys have alluded to. The zoning is very strong in this game. But once she gets going and then she loops you with unblockables, it's like, oh my gosh. And the usage really bore this out. Again, almost 25% of the people in the top 200 played Kimberly. Hands down, the number one character from a usage standpoint.
Steven, thoughts on Kimberly?
Yeah, I've got Kimberly actually at number 3. For me personally, I didn't see the unblockable setup stuff going around on Twitter until the final day of the beta. I think it could have even been the next morning after the beta was done. I just didn't see it used personally. I fought a few Kimberly players. I think I ran into her the least amount of times, but no Kimberly players ever did it to me. I looked around at footage and stuff, wasn't seeing people abuse that myself. I didn't see that go around a lot until towards the end of the beta. So I was kind of like, yeah, people found that it was a thing. Again, it didn't really personally impact me. So I was kind of like, okay, I don't know how prevalent it was elsewhere, because I didn't see it. And I was pretty in tune to social media and stuff throughout the weekend to kind of see what people were finding and what was going on. So for me, the unblockable thing was kind of like it's an exploit. It's crappy to do. It's going to be patched out most likely. It's not a huge factor in my ranking here because I was like, I didn't see it a lot. I just didn't.
Sure. What do you think about her? Because I know you played a decent bit of Kimberly yourself too. She was your original main. How do you feel about just her general tools in the Street Fighter 6 meta at this point?
Yeah, so the big thing with her was it feels like she struggles a bit in neutral in terms of her normals and stuff. She struggles to get things kind of going. Just with basic kind of combos and stuff, her damage output is pretty low in the neutral as well. So it felt a little bit tough to get that stuff going unless you're kind of going to the random teleports and the slides and the things that people aren't really ready for yet. And going against Kimberly players that tried to do that to me, I'm like, I know what that is. I kind of shut it down, and you go, well, okay, if she gets me in the corner and starts the bomb setup stuff, that's a different story, but you can kind of shut some of that stuff down if you know what to look for. Again, this doesn't mean the crazy unblockable stuff. If somebody gets you in that, I mean, good games, right? That's terrible, but for me, it kind of felt like she relies on just kind of catching you off guard and not flailing, but throwing stuff out that you're not expecting. And then she can kind of get her stuff going. She does have some pretty wild bomb setups in the corner and stuff, though. Once she gets there and can kind of get that going, that's pretty wild. But I don't think that her spray cans reset per round, so I think she needs to restock them per round. I might be wrong about that, but she has 2 of them to start, and then she has to restock them. But yeah, I think she was good. I think she was really good. I felt like Guile and the other character I have for number 2, I felt like they did stuff overall better But in the corner, she was kind of a death sentence. I'm not even gonna try to say she wasn't, because once she got you in the corner and got the bomb setup stuff, I mean, it's a guessing game. Try to get out, but there's a lot of people, we don't know how to fight her yet. We're not used to all the gimmicks and the crazy stuff yet, and so there's some basic stuff that people were getting caught with a lot, where it's like, once you shut that down, it's more fair of a fight. How much more fair? I don't know, but it's definitely more fair.
So I think that Kimberly, okay, let me repreface this too, that this is more about what does the meta of Street Fighter 6 seem to favor and which characters seem to be able to do that kind of stuff the best. Kimberly, to me, seems like gimmicks all over the place in terms of she gets in, but she gets in with kind of like, oh, you weren't ready for this. Now that might be good because so far it's worked pretty well. But of course that kind of a thing is going to work. And this is true for all characters, but especially Kimberly right now, that people really aren't ready for, oh, she disappeared in what color smoke was it? Well, if it's blue smoke, she's in front of you. If it's pink smoke, she's above you. And by the way, that looks a lot like drive impact. So you might react with a drive impact and be wrong. This is and that. She can do some crazy Tatsu mid-air stuff where you messes up your anti-airs. She can go over you with a Tatsu. I saw that happen to me a handful of times where she's standing next to you and she does like, I think it's instant air Tatsu and goes past you and hits behind you. She does have the BS in the corner and stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't think she has very strong neutral. I think she has gimmicks. And then the question is, once people figure that stuff out, how much is it going to be effective? I think it's going to drop drastically. And if she doesn't have a solid base to go off of, it's going to be, can you overwhelm your opponent with the potential of I could go high, I could go low, I could run in, I could be patient, whatever. That might work, but I don't think she's very honest. And so in that way, I don't think she banks up a lot in what's good in the Street Fighter 6 meta. She's obviously not a zoning character at all. So I think she's going to do really well early on, and I think she's going to taper off. Now, I could be wrong. It could be effective enough to actually win in the Street Fighter 6 meta, but with what I see so far, and given that it's not just a snapshot of the beta to me, because if she's got this overpowered thing in the corner, like of course she's going to be one of the strongest because she's got a bug, but I figure that's going to be gone, and when Street Fighter 6 gets up and going, she's going to be one of the worst, and so I have her actually at 8th overall, actually completely opposite from Catalyst. You got a number 1, I've got a number 8, but I don't think that she's going to be effective long term. Guys, do you have any final thoughts about these characters, about the beta, before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I'm hoping that they give my main an unblockable and that you put him in dead last as well for your tier ranking, just like you did Kimberly, because that seems about fair and will add up. So I'm hoping they give me that, but still don't understand that. Still, you're like, hey, this character has an unblockable. They're unbeatable if they get in the situation.
Well, they're not unbeatable. There is a solution. People just didn't really know it yet. And don't get burned out in the corner is also part of that. But yeah, no, she's goofy. That's going to get changed, I'm sure, and that won't even be a factor moving forward. Hey guys, thanks for checking out that clip. If you liked it and you want to see another one just like it, you can do so right here. And if you'd like to hear our entire EventHubs beta tier list discussion where we rank all 8 characters that were available in the Street Fighter 6 beta, you can do so right here.